Hello everyone. Today we're going to be reviewing how to perform a contingency space analysis as well as how to graph the results of this. To be doing this, we're going to be looking at the Martins et al. Article from 2008. We're going to be using the data presented on page 77. So first off, you could see from this is the data sheet that was used in the article, and this is very similar to the data sheet that you guys were required to use. See, here's our data sheet, and then there's theirs. So when you're filling this out, the first thing you want to do is break your day up into, or your observation period into 15-minute intervals. And then from there, you will record if the behavior was present, which you'd indicate by a slash, or if it wasn't present, which you'd indicate by the 0. Then during each interval, you would indicate what occurred. Was attention provided? Did the student or client escape from whatever activity was going on? Or was there something else going on? And then you could also add in other conditions here. As within our data sheet, we have a tangible condition. So for the first interval, the 15-minute interval, the behavior wasn't present, but some other consequence besides attention or escape did occur. For the second interval, the behavior was present and attention was provided contingent on the behavior. And this goes on throughout the rest of the observation period. Now, to calculate all the information, you would want to use one of these grids here. And again, this is present on our data sheet. And you'd be looking at each condition separately. So B is when the behavior occurred, and B plus C is when the behavior occurred with a specific consequence. So you're not adding anything with B plus C. It really means B and C. So both two things are occurring at the same time. So for attention, so for, say, the second-minute interval, the behavior occurred and attention was given. Okay, so first thing you'll do is you'll count up how many times the behavior occurred total throughout the observation period. For this, it's 11. And then you would look at how many times the behavior occurred in the presence of attention. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which is right here. So then the next step now is to do your to complete this equation. So all you're doing is you're taking this number here, B and C, so the 8, and dividing it by 11 to get your probability. Okay, so when you do that, you are getting 0.73. So if we look at a calculator, so again, we're taking the 8, dividing it by 11. Then you get 0.727, so you round up to the hundredths place, okay? If you get an ongoing decimal like that. Okay, so you'll do the same thing with the absence of behavior. You're going to count up how many times during your observation period the behavior didn't occur during each interval. So for this, it was 9. And then how many times the behavior didn't occur and then attention was provided. So in this, just go down here, and we have one instance for that. And again, you put that right here. So this is the absence of behavior occurring with attention. We're not adding. Think of the plus as more of an and sign instead of an addition sign over here. I know that is a little confusing. And then again, you just do your division problem. So this value right here, B and C, divided by 9. So 1 divided by 9. And then you get 0.111 repeating. And again, we round up to the nearest 100 place right there. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing for the escape condition and then our other non-coded condition. So just also too with the other non-coded, this is anything that happens that doesn't fall into any of these categories. So in this example right here, since we don't have the tangible condition, if the student obtained a toy, it would go under this. If there was any type of self-stimulatory input occurring, it would go under this. Okay. All right, so now how are we going to graph this data? the fun part. All right, so let's pop over to Excel. As you can see, I already put all this data from right over here into Excel. And I have this set up in a very specific way, so this way that it graphs correctly. You need to have your conditions up top, and then whether if the behavior occurred or didn't occur over here. So for it to graph appropriately, because we want when there's no behavior occurring, so the absence of behavior, to run along the x-axis, and we want when there is target behavior to run across the y-axis. Okay, you'll see a little bit better once I make the graph. So it needs to be set up in this format for it to graph correctly. Okay, so to graph, we select our raw data, our data here, and the type of graph we're going to be using is what's called an XY scatter. So there's two ways to do this. I'm going to show you both. First thing is to go over to the main menu, Insert, go to Chart, and pick XY scatter. Okay, and it will look like that. And then your other way to do it, like kind of how we insert a line graph, or is to go over here, and then this is the icon for the scatter, and we want this one right here. Okay, so, all right, so as you can see, so at this point, which is actually our escape condition point, we have the absence, which is in the first point, which is the 0.11, and then the presence of the behavior is 0.09. When you're thinking about graphing this, you want to think of this as if you're graphing some sort of, if you're graphing an algebraic equation, if you guys remember from high school, or if you took any calculus type classes in undergrad, that's what you're thinking about more. You're taking two data points and plotting them along the x and the y. You're taking two values and having them meet in order to get your plotting point on the graph. Okay, so we could see that this occurred correctly. So the absence is in the first part of the first value in the parentheses, which is our x, and then the presence is on the second part, which is our y. Okay. All right, so now looking at all of this, obviously this isn't in the correct format that we want it to look like, so that it appropriately displays our data. So let's make a few changes. First, let's change the title. We're just going to write contingency space analysis. And if you wanted to, you could write the target behavior. And then you're going to add axis. So on the primary axis, which is our x-axis value, we're going to write consequence no target behavior. And then for the y-axis, we're going to write consequence target behavior. Okay? All right, and now for you guys, when you actually graph this, you would write what your target behavior is. You wouldn't write target behavior. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is we need to make sure that our axes go to 1. This is a scale of 0 to 1, so we need to have it reflect that. So go to our axis options over here, and then so we change our maximum to 1. And then we can make our major unit so what it goes up by to 2, so this way it's a little bit not as congested on the axis. And we want to do the same thing. Actually, we could keep it at 1. We'll just make the graph a little bit bigger. We want to do the same thing on the x-axis. Again, make our maximum 1. Oops. And then make our major unit 1. So this way it goes up by 1, and we'll just make this longer. So this way that's not as squished. Okay, so the next thing we need to do now is we'll take out these grid lines here, so no line. And we want to put on the other lines, just do this by clicking no line. Okay, so now it's nice and open. The next thing we will do is we'll change what each of these look like, and we'll make our key. So this point over here is 0.11 by 73, so that's our attention. So we're going to take this one, we'll make it, change the color to black, the border to black, and we'll keep this one a circle. Make sure that we're only selecting one data point at a time, because otherwise it will change all of them. I had all three, so all three of them changed, which is good anyway, because we need to change them all to black. So for this one, we'll make it, we'll go with a triangle. Oh, it didn't change. Go with triangle. It's not changing. Built-in. There we go. I didn't click on built-in. There we go. That was the problem. All right. Anyway, marker. Built-in, and we'll go with square. And if you want to, you can make these a little bit bigger if you feel they're a little too small for your graph. Okay, so now we'll make our key so we know what all of these are. So we're going to do insert text box. Insert, let's see, we'll do insert symbol. We don't want emojis. Okay, so insert a circle. We'll go with this one. Okay, and now we'll insert another symbol. I'll insert our square. Oops. Why that's doing that. I'll just try a different square. Okay, and then insert another symbol. It'll be our triangle. So we'll go with that triangle. Okay, so now you're just going to want to write what each of these are. So the circle was our attention. Triangle was escape. And square was other. So you can also change the order. I like to put this other last if possible. But for now, we'll just leave it like that. So there's your key. Oops. Okay. Let's move this over here for now. Okay, and now we're going to draw our line across there, so this way we can see. All right, so now we do insert shape line. We draw our line from here to here. And just like we went over here to change the colors from everything else, we go over here again and we change the color of our line to black. We need to be everything in black and white, so this way it is in appropriate APA format. Okay, everyone, this is our graph. I hope you guys have a better understanding of how to perform the contingency space analysis as well as how to graph it appropriately. Again, as usual, if you have any questions or problems or concerns, please email me. and happy graphing. Thanks.